In today's installment of Unpacked.
So with me, I have both. So I have what we call a bilateral cleft and lip palate.
Ngisho ukuthi amaloyo because siyazi kuma black society esibuya kuwo yonke into amaloyo.
You didn't see me lose my mind. I punched a boy, hey?
Really?
Yeah, no, I did. So I think...
In front of humiliating.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
There are many misconceptions around the cleft palate, so today's guests are here to share their stories. Let's unpack. Seitebogo Peta from Pretoria had quite the colorful and happy childhood. Surrounded by a loving family, she did not know that there was anything wrong with her till she started noticing the reactions of people when they met her. She then became aware of the fact that she was born with a cleft lip and palate. In 2017, Qaqambile Phika became a first-time mom to a baby boy. The Soweto native, however, was made aware that he had been born with a cleft lip and palate and knew very little about the condition at the time. These are their stories. Let's unpack. Ladies, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great.
Siyabonga.
Seitebogo, you are living with a cleft palate, and yourself, Qaqambile, you are raising a child who has a cleft palate. So I think it's so great that you're both here to share different experiences, especially to deal with the different misconceptions and to raise a bit of awareness for what it is. So let me start with yourself, Seitebogo. How would you explain to somebody who has no idea what a cleft palate is?
Okay, Relebogile. So a cleft palate, I'm not going to be too technical, right? Is like when your child is born with a slit in the... Okay, so first of all, there are two kinds, right? There's a cleft palate and there's a cleft lip and then there's a cleft and lip, all right? So with a cleft palate, you have a split in the palate, in the roof of your mouth.
Yes, I got you.
In the roof of your mouth. And then with a cleft lip, you have a split in the roof of your, between your nostrils, right? So you can get a bilateral, right? Which is what I have, that is having two splits, so on both nostrils, right? And then you can just have a unilateral lip, which is just one split, right? So, and then either or, a child can have both, or a child can have either one of the two. So with me, I have both. So I have what we call a bilateral cleft and lip palate.
So just so we understand, because some people can just look and see that a lip is split or was split and has actually had surgery on it. But there's things that are happening inside that one might not be able to see. So when we say the roof of the mouth is split, is that there is a gap between the mouth and the nasal cavity.
Yes.
And sometimes that gap is completely open.
Yes.
What kind of a cleft, is it palate or lip or bilateral that you described, does your child have?
Usibaluhle une unilateral cleft lip and palate. The roof of the mouth is open, even the lip was open.
And in terms of, obviously you already mentioned a child is born with this. When you were pregnant, could you see it on the scans?
Being pregnant, bekungabonakali nokubonakala ukuthi bekene cleft lip and palate. Besibona nje a healthy baby boy. Only to surprise ukuthi bengizomthola umntana on a cleft lip and palate.
So what was the first thing you saw when they took baby out of you?
Bengithukile ngoba ngathi bengicede ukumthola bangibonisa ngazibuza ukuthi kwenzakalani ngosiba. Ngisho ukuthi amaloyo because siyazi kuma black society esibuya kuwo yonke into amaloyo. So bengithukile ukuthi okay kwenzakalani ngomntanami. And then bamthatha bamisa ku incubator because he couldn't breathe.
So from your view, describe to us ukuthi, what did you see when you were looking at him? What did you see?
Bengizibonela nje umntana osikeke umlomo Ngishitshelwa ukuthi maybe abonesi bathe bebengitetisa bamsika because bengingazi next about cleft lip and palate.
And you'd never seen it before in your life.
Bengiqala.
And I think that's the difficulty. When you've never seen something before, you have all the fears in the world. So after the baby was in the incubator, how long did it take for him to recover and the doctors to explain to you what's going on?
Bathe bebeqeda ukumthatha bamise ku-incubator, and then the doctor came wa-explain ukuthi this is cleft lip and palate, and then bengiworried ukuthi okay yenziwa yini, and then udoctor wangibuza ukuthi bengibhema na, bengingabhemi pregnant, bengingaphuzi. So uhleli 14 days ku-incubator. After 14 days bamkhipha-ke ku-incubator, wahlala esibhedlela for plus minus 3 weeks. Bamcheck ukuthi ngizokhona na ukukhupha naye bengisendlini.
But now, if the mouth and the palate and the nasal cavities are open, the first thing a baby must do when they come out is eat. So were you able to breastfeed?
Bengingakwazi ukumbreastfeeder because bekengakwazi ukubamba ilona inipple because of ama lips bewevulekile. So
they can't latch.
Yes. So beke lona bekedla ngesyringe.
So were the nurses showing you how to feed the baby?
Yeah, bebengibonisa bona.
And what are the things they had to do? Because if you're putting a syringe somewhere where it doesn't seal closed, it's still open, could maybe the milk not come out?
Into njalo beyenzeka because of ipalate ivulekile, so bekedla ukudla bekunokuphuma emakhaleni. And then bazongitshela ukuthi no, boceda ukumdlisa fanele umbambe for a certain period so that ukudla kungeke kuphume.
When you were growing up, I mean, obviously your parents would have had a different experience. What was the first thing that you remember as a child? Was it happy memories or was it remembering something about being different?
You know, I'm actually going to be very honest with you, Nat. I think I'm one of the lucky few, right? In terms of my family made it like there was nothing wrong with me. You know, I obviously knew that I have to go to the hospital for this, but it wasn't really a problem for me because, like I said, my parents were confident. And not even my parents, like my entire family was confident with me. And, you know, I think that's also another thing when you as a parent or everybody around you, right, your is it micro, macro? Yeah, like when they are confident, you also don't notice certain things up until you go to the general public. So for me, to be honest with you, I really had like a very happy childhood where, like I said, the only thing that I know is that I have to go to hospital for this. But it didn't really bother me as such. You know, up until obviously a certain age now when you start growing up and you start intermingling with people and so.
So in that time that you were going to the hospital, what was your understanding of what you're going for?
I knew I had like a condition, you know, because like to be honest, when I started going to hospital, like my earliest memory, my lips were already reconstructed. So I was already fine, you know. So I just knew that, okay, they need to check the inside of my mouth and stuff like that. But I wasn't like conscious of the fact that, oh no, I have a cleft. It's just that I know I have to go to hospital, like just like a normal doctor's visit. So,
yes. So at what age did you get the surgery done?
Okay, so the first one, I mean, I can't really remember, you know. So like I said, since I've known myself, my lips have always been closed. The surgery that I really remember, I was in grade 2. I was even explaining to her that I don't know what that surgery was called, but I definitely know that I was in pain when I got out, you know. Obviously, going to the hospital that morning and everything to get it done, I was excited about it, you know, like any other child. It's obviously when I got out and when I woke up, I mean, I still remember it even now. Like, it was painful. And yeah, so I'd say grade 2. Like, that's the earliest memory that I have of me going into surgery.
But you didn't have to go in for surgery as a baby.
I did, but
So you did, okay.
So I can't remember that.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So what do they relate to you what that first surgery was like?
They've actually never told me. You know, like I said, for me, like with my family, it wasn't like a real topic of discussion that, I obviously know that I have to go to the hospital, but it wasn't a thing. Like they didn't make it a thing in our household.
In terms of your palate being open, is it that the jaw was also split? Sorry, not the jaw, but the roof of the top part of the teeth. Were they also split? Because I've actually seen cleft lip palates where literally the teeth are also separated. That's how big the hole is. Was yours that drastic?
No. The only thing that I obviously remember with my palate was that it was split, but it wasn't really a problem for me. As a matter of fact, I mean, I could take water out my nose. So for me, that was like a more playful thing than a serious thing, you know. It was like a cool thing to do as a child.
So what are some of the challenges you faced when you got home with the baby?
Ukulona ukuhlezi ngimgadile bengiceda ukumdlisa because ibisi beliphuma kakhulu bengisendlini, so bengiba shocked ukuthi maybe angimdlisi kahle, so bekufanele ngibe yi-hands on mom, ngiye kumsebenzi nginakekela usiba and ukuphuma ngiye ngaphandle like kuma clinics, because sometimes bozofika eclinic bomvula abantu bazothi yo kwenzakalani ngalo mntana lona and so on, but ke bekungekho that challenging.
What did the doctors say to you about what can be done for your child?
Bathi bazomenza ama-operations. I-first operation yakhe wayena 5 months, which is bebemlungisa ama-lips.
So they start with the lips before the palate?
Baqala ngama-lips. So
did they explain why?
Why baqala nge-lip? Aba-explain ngicabanga ukuthi because lip wonke umuntu ubona i-lip before azobona i-palate.
So it doesn't have anything to do with like, because in my mind, if you're open, are you not more prone to infections and things like that? Is it not to close?
I think that
and limit exposure of things like bacteria and germs?
Maybe ngaba kanjalo.
So 5 months the first surgery happened. How did it go?
It went well because of ngilandele nje imithetho ye-surgeon ukuthi after i-operation, first day uphuza amanzi, second day uphuza only apple juice 100%. So ngivele ngafollow ama-doctor's rules, because if awufollow i-operation eba-septic uthola ukuthi iyavuleka, so it's better ukuthi usticke to what i-doctor into ayishoyo.
Was the baby in pain?
He was in pain.
Oh man. And how did you cope?
Bengikahle because of being a supportive family phambi kwami. Even the surgeon yakhe was so supportive.
And then when was the next surgery?
Began 9 months, which is ipalate yakhe beyi-wild open, so they had to go to bayenza ama-stage ayi-2. Bayenza first stage in 9 months, and then the other one, the second stage, bayenza began 1 year and couple of months.
How do they close it? Do they actually bring in, and I'm asking for the lips as well, do they just bring the lips together? Do they just close the palate together, or they actually have to take flesh from somewhere else to close?
Ngama-lip, bavala nje ama-lip. Nange-palate, bavala nje i-palate. Angazi nokuthi basebenzisani, but...
In your case, do you know?
So I have like a different experience with my palate. They took my rib, hip bone actually, because I was a bit older.
Yes.
So they took my hip bone and they put it inside my actual palate. So like that's why I like with the lips, obviously I can't say. I mean, I know that they would just close the lips, but with my palate, the difference was they took my hip bone.
That is so fascinating that they go into the hip. And do you know about how big a piece did the doctor show you with his fingers?
I mean, my scarring is like this small, so it's not really big. Yeah.
And how much pain were you in for that surgery?
No, I was in quite a lot of pain, but it's obviously not the pain that I felt in grade 2.
Yes,
you know, so no, it was just an uncomfortable pain because obviously I need to walk, you know, I need to laugh, I need to do what normal human beings do. But besides that, it wasn't like excruciating. It was just a pain that I can handle. But then, like, you know, at the same time, people's pain tolerance is different. So for me, it might have been like not too painful, but for the next person, it might have been excruciating.
And what specialist is the one that deals with the palate?
It's a maxillofacialist. Yeah.
Okay, because a person might be thinking, does a dentist get involved to sort of
do.
sue? So it becomes
the
a
thing is,
team.
it's an entire team, right? But with this, we'll say it's a maxillofacialist, and then obviously you work with like different practitioners. You work with an orthodontist, a normal dentist, you know, nursing sisters, you know, so it's like it's different people. So you are actually seen by like a team of like different medical practitioners in the face, and even ENTs see you, you know, so.
Because it affects your nasals
Yes.
as well, so
Yeah.
to check that. Okay.
Yeah.
When your son had these operations, you followed the doctor's instructions. So after the 9-month operation, what was the next thing that happened?
He did another operation, Qaqambile palate, and then wire for ENT for ama-grommets because indlebe zakhe bezimupha inkinga nje atshilo usisi ukuthi like bone-cleft kuba yinto eningi. So uhamba ama-ENT, ama-audiology, ama-speech therapy, so it's a long road.
Did your son have trouble making sounds when he was growing up? Because, you know, they'll say to you, babies must reach these milestones at these ages. Did he delay in some of his stages?
Kwezinye kunzima ukuthi apronounce kodwa ezinye uyapronounce kahle.
But he didn't have issues with things like crawling and those things?
No, he didn't.
What was the biggest complication that he got from the cleft lip and palate?
It's, I think, palate. Because after palate, bekufanele ahlale isikhathi eside angadli. Edla your juice and stuff. I think 2 weeks yonke.
Wow.
Edla into ezilona, ama-ultrameli, zonke lezi zinto nje ezi-soft. Afterwards, every time bowuceda ukumdlisa after palate, fanele umrinse. Because wakhohlwa nje ukumrinsa i-operation iyamosheka.
And for you, do you remember your recovery?
Like she's saying, obviously you have to eat, like you can't eat solid foods for 2 weeks, like she says. And you obviously have to, you can't, because like I said, I had to do the hip replacement type of thing. So you can't carry heavy objects. You actually really need to be still, you know, to relax yourself, you know. So like that's like the only thing, like eating soft food and just being calm and relaxing. And yeah, that's my recovery.
You mentioned that, you know, you could be playful in letting things pass out here, but on the reels, when you're just trying to eat, did food ever pass through that you were not trying to have pass through?
No.
And is that because you just get used to what's happening in your mouth?
Like, I don't know, but like, no, I've never really had problems with like food coming out of my nose or my mouth, you know. And like I said, the drinking water thing, it really just was a game. So it didn't really affect me, to be quite honest with you.
But did you have to follow any oral hygiene just to check no infections pass from the mouth to the sinus cavity?
I mean, normal dental and oral hygiene things, you know, like your flossing, obviously, and your mouthwash and stuff like that. Saline water, you know, just to clean wherever, you know, where the operation was done. But yeah, that's just as basic as it is.
And maybe, you know, obviously I can only imagine based on as we're talking, I'm constantly feeling the roof of my mouth. Like, Kana, it's so hard. The palate is actually, this is so deep that if there was a gap there, I would be so paranoid that food would pass through, and food doesn't belong on the side. Like, what must I do? Must I rinse out my sinuses? So for you, did food ever go through the top for your baby?
Bekunokuphuma before ayenza ama-operation, but after my operation, bekungasaphumi.
But he didn't get infections and things like that?
No, he didn't.
So your son is how old now?
He's 5 years.
And how has he been developing after the operations?
Yena ungumntana alright, but because of ikhala lakhe liskew, because of lip, uyazibona naye sometimes ukuthi uhlukile kwabanye abantu. Uthola ukuthi there is a teasing happening ekhaya, abantwana bayadlala bayagwarana. Uzobe uyaseke ekhala, mama omunye uthi nginekhala elichekile. Or sometimes uthola umuntu omdala ezothi wena siba ngekhala elichekile, so leyo nto leyo like iyamlimaza.
And what do you tell him when he tells you that?
At first, bekasho kanjalo, bengiphuma ngiyolwa. I remember ngaze ngaboshwa nokuboshwa.
Really?
Because of ngalwa, like intombazane indala i-argue nami, and then umntana uyabuya endlini uyakhala. Uthi umama kazibani bani nginekhala elitshekile, azange ngibuze ngaphuma ngayolwa. Intombazana yavula icase, but ke ngoba amaphoyisa like ayamamela ayasithatha abuka istory ukuthi kuthini, and then bamtshela naye ukuthi no, bo wrong ukuthi umntana ukanjani.
Why was she doing that?
Singathi nje ukuba abantu ba ignorant, because they still do. Last week Sunday sizimele gateini, there is this guy passing, was like Qaqambile konje ikhala elitshekile lilungiswa kanjani. I was like, hayi angazi.
Yo, people are draining.
Yeah,
people are very draining.
Yeah, baba means sometimes abantu.
So when did you realize, after you were outside of the bubble and the safety of your little community at home, that you're actually different and people are going to make fun of you and be mean?
So I think, like preschool and everything. So also another thing, I'm a very feisty young lady.
Is that why you're laughing when she said that?
Yeah,
they arrested her? You're like, that would have been...
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I'm extremely feisty. So even, and I think maybe that's where the feistiness comes from, as a defense mechanism, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so obviously at an early age, nobody would come at me because, I mean, that's me, But when like I can remember when I was in, I think grade six or so, there was this thing that used to play on SABC3. It's a Jessica Alba TV show.
Oh, where she was a dog angel.
Dog angel, yeah. So, like I said, boys were scared of me, girls were scared of me because I was that girl, And obviously, I can't really remember the order of events, but there was an argument that happened, at school, And one of the boys, like their response to maybe how I was there was a character who had like a split on his lip, He wasn't really the most handsome guy on the show, So now when someone, and you're a child now, and it's in full view of girls. And
so he compared you to that character.
Yes, you didn't see me lose my mind. Hey, I punched a boy, hey?
Really?
Yeah, no, I did. So I think...
In front of... Because he humiliated you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, that's what I did. But that is like the only vivid memory that I have, and that was like in grade 6. But all along, nobody said anything, and even later, maybe they were talking about me behind my back, but I've never really had anyone say anything upright to me, like in my face like that. I've obviously had conversations maybe with, as you grow older, maybe your parents will tell you that so-and-so once said this. Obviously, I'm assuming it comes from a place of pain as a parent, you know, because there's a story that my dad once said to me that I had to go somewhere with another cousin of mine, I think one of these casting things. And one of the reasons I couldn't be part of the casting thing was the parents said to him that, I didn't think that she'd be able to do that because, you know, she's got a cleft. You know, so, I mean, these are obviously stories that I've heard as an adult, but to say that I've experienced them firsthand, I don't know. And maybe that's also another thing. Parents are very protective. So maybe before you even get to telling me that as an adult, I already had parents that were as feisty as I am. So they couldn't even get to me because they would have probably gotten to my parents before they got to me.
How do you feel listening to Seitebogo share as an adult what life is like when you think about your child is still 5 and has to grow up and be an adult like her?
I like ngizitshela ukuthi uzophila uzoba right ngoma usiba bohlala naye explainela uzotsha athi yane mama ngiyakuthanda because wenza yonke into esamandleni ukuthi ngibe muhle nginale conversation noSiba ukuthi yazi nsiba umuhle noma abantu bangathini athi ewe nyani uThixo usithanda sonke like he's a praying child uyazi ukuthi Sunday fanele kaye esontweni uyazi ukuthi okay yes ikhala li different but into emjabulisile ukuthi he will be going for rhinoplasty surgery at 5 most of the time bayabe bena 18 so he's like yo ngifuna impumulo yabelungu mama ngizoba muhle sho ukuthi ngizoba umlungu masibe ngikhala labelungu so nje.
So explain to everybody what is your understanding of rhinoplasty?
Rhinoplasty ngazi ukuthi bazoyenza surgery ekhala bazolungisa ukuthi lime kahle because liye bit skew kule parts bekene cleft lip lisezansi and then the other parts iphezulu.
So it's almost like cosmetic surgery. Yes, to just correct and make it more symmetrical. Yes. What are some of the misconceptions you think people have about cleft lip and palate, especially because you have a foundation and this is the work that you do?
Okay, so what I've found is that, like she's saying, it's witchcraft, you know, and the reality is that, like she said, people of color, not all of them obviously, but they believe in witchcraft and stuff like that. You know, and I mean, with me, some people were like, maybe it's an accident. You know, they don't like the misconceptions really, main ones that affected me was the fact that, okay, maybe witchcraft or maybe, you know, I was involved in a car accident, you know. And like I said, most people are not educated on it, you know, and not by choice, but because it's not something that is well known, you know. I mean, you see a person and it does look like maybe someone could have had an accident or, you know. So that is what I've found. And some mothers that I've worked with don't even know that, no, it's not. I mean, there are different factors as to why you might get it, right? So it could be genetic. It could be your maternal external environment. It could be your diet and stuff like that. So some mothers don't even know because I there was a lady that I was working with that said to me that obviously after she gave birth, they said, your child has a cleft palate, and I think they probably didn't go that much into detail, you know, and then she went back home. She has a friend that has a friend who's also a nurse. Obviously, she called her up and said, yo, please just ask your friend, my child came out with this. I don't know what the problem could be, you know. The friend obviously came back and said, yeah, no, I spoke to my friend and she said that the problem could be that you didn't take folic acid. I obviously had to say to her that, no, that is one of the reasons why your child could have had a cleft. You know, I obviously explained everything that I just listed to you. And I made an example. I said to her, because I've got a daughter myself. And I explained to her, look, I didn't know that I was pregnant for, let's just say, 4 months, and the lip the cleft and the lip, it's 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 9 weeks, right? So I explained to her that when I was pregnant, I didn't even know that there was this person forming in me, meaning that for 4 to 9 weeks, I definitely didn't take folic acid, right? But here's the thing, I'm carrying the cleft gene, and my child didn't even come out with a cleft palate. So like I said to her, so it's different things. It could be your diet, it could be like genetics. Obviously, for her, it wasn't genetic. It could be the fact that she didn't take folic acid, but then she said she took it at the right time and whatever. So I said, that's the thing, so yeah.
For you, what would you like parents of children with cleft lip and palate, or cleft lip or palate, to know about it?
Ngifuna ukuthi kubo bangabi namahloni ngabantwana babo, babe abazali aba-supportive, bahambe ama-doctor's appointment, bahambe ama-audiology, bahambe ama-speech therapy, bahambe nama-ENT, ngoba lezo zinto lezo ngicabanga ukuthi ziyasiza kakhulu, ngoba mina noSiba ziyasiza.
Did you go to public hospitals?
Yeah, some public hospital.
And did you find that there was enough support for you?
Beyikhona support yonke engiyidingayo.
What has your experience been with the type of support and information that's available?
So obviously with me, I had great support, from my medical team to my family, in terms of obviously the messages, like the awareness and like that is out there. I still think that there could be a lot that should be done on it, because even when you do Google it, there is information, but certain articles and scholarly journals and reports are not even written in South Africa. They're overseas, So if there was a lot of awareness on it, a lot of advocacy on it, and not even for the cleft parent and child, but for the broader and the larger public. I think that's the thing, because you can protect your child for so long. It's now when they go to the public, and the more damage is not even done at home. It's done in the public with people outside and the people that you mingle with and everything. So if there was just a lot of awareness on it, if they put emphasis on it, like they put emphasis on other things, not saying that the other things are not important,
yes,
but it would make things easier for the parent and for the child.
Do you think there are enough children getting surgeries, or there's still many children walking around with open lips, open palates?
There are children walking around with open lips and open palates, and the reason for that is not that there aren't people to help, but the waiting lists, especially in public hospitals, are very long, So I don't even think that it's deliberate, but if there was just enough funding on it, I think then we would be able to push as many operations as possible. And but there are quite a lot of children with it.
Ladies, thank you so much for sharing your stories, obviously from different perspectives around the same thing. And I think the awareness is important, and I'm very happy that the both of you had great support, but there are many people out there who don't have support, who don't have the information. And I hope after this episode, there's a bit of awareness created, and maybe there's a parent or a child or an individual watching who feels inspired and hopeful about just living a great life in spite of cleft lip and palate. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you very much.
#Unpacked with Relebogile. We really live and learn every single day. While I was very aware about the cleft lip, I wasn't aware that the name is cleft lip and palate. And I wasn't aware that so many can go for so long without having surgeries and actually live semi-okay lives, but that the operation can make such a big difference. I mean, imagine bone taken from your hip to be put in your mouth. Absolute respect to medical professionals out there that make these miraculous surgeries and recoveries happen. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you check out the information that we're going to put at the end of the show. Have a good night. Next time on Unpacked.
I was raped by my cousin, or my dad's cousin. Unfortunately, I directed my hate to my father. It's because now they know the truth. Then the following day, I took the bus, then I left. It always ended with one thing, having sex. I would still have to find another man that I was going to sleep with for a roof to sleep under.
Thank you so much for watching Unpacked with Relebogile Mabotja. Make sure you subscribe to my channel where you can get to watch more episodes. But more importantly, you can be part of our online community. Comment down below, share with us who you'd like to see on the show, what story you'd like us to discuss. We love engaging with you. Keep it coming and don't forget to subscribe.